Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. James here as ever for today's video all about how to pass your upcoming PM or the F5 Performance Management exam. If this is the first time you've visited my channel before, my name is James. I'm an ACCA qualified member from the UK, and on my channel I help out accounting students, ACCA members and professionals around the world sharing my insights and experience. And in today's video I'm going to take you through a free resource available to you on ACCA's website that goes through the study guide and syllabus for your upcoming performance management exam, because the video has been requested by one of my lovely subscribers, as you can see down here. Thank you, Saeed. As you can see, can you make a video on the most examined F5 topics? Saeed, I am more than happy to help you out, my friend. And all of my videos are dedicated to my lovely subscribers. So if you'd like to become one of them, you are more than welcome as ever. Just hit the button below and you get access to all of my free resources. As I said, we're going to be going through them today. Make sure you click the link in the description below. And if you find the video helpful as we go through, be sure to give it a massive like and thumbs up so that more accounting and ACCA students can see these free materials. And if you know anyone who's got the PM exam, you know this video is going to give them so much value. So be sure to share it with them as well, because it could be the difference in getting those final marks to get you into the 50 plus. So, without any further ado, make sure you get comfy, sit down, click the link below so you get access to the documents, and I'm going to walk and talk you through. So on 3 and 2 and 1 and go. Okay then, so if you click the link in the description, as I said, it's going to bring you onto ACCA's website where you can actually download this syllabus and study guide for free. Now the document we're going to be going through today is up to June 2022. Now don't panic if you're watching this after June 2022. The actual tips and resources and what I'm going to walk and talk you through is still going to be helpful for your exam. Also, if you go through the document to the end, if you are watching this after that, all you need to go down to at the bottom is the actual summary of changes. And as you can see on here, there really aren't that many for this exam. So this video, along with the document that we're analysing, is still going to be beneficial for you, along with my notes and insights, because I'm sure you can see, looking at this, you're going, oh my word, James. There's a lot of information on here. If only I had someone in my life to just go through it, pick out the important information, and meaning that I can just take it down in notes. Well, lo and behold, if I just scroll down here on one that I prepared earlier, here are my syllabus and study guide analysis notes, because the syllabus on here really doesn't particularly change too much, as we just saw, but it was formerly known as F5, if you want to get that written down, just in case you've maybe seen some old lecture notes online, or you actually maybe found some old books on it. Also, the key thing to note down, talking of books, is the actual management accounting exam, which I highly recommend if you haven't done it already, completing that before you do your performance management exam, because it was also known as F2, and all of the actual aspects of that exam build on in more detail in performance management. So in my eyes, if you haven't done the management accounting exam before performance management, you're at a real disadvantage in my eyes. And of course on there, the average pass rate is 40%. So what this means is that for every 100 students that go and sit this exam, only 40 will pass. So hence a very tough exam. And the things we go through in this video are definitely going to help you out to pick up on those extra marks, and in my eyes could be the main difference in you passing it as well. So make sure you stick around to the end. As we say, make sure you've got a pen and paper at the ready. I'm on the side, all the important notes are in the middle there. And just to actually get the ball rolling on here is to say, well, we're going to have to be looking at specific capabilities, and I've put on there is a jump, just so you're aware from a sort of perspective to say, well, if I've passed management accounting and that was okay and easy, trust me on this, PM is a very difficult exam and it is a jump up. And this here really shows you the actual levels of application and analysis that you're going to have to actually apply in this exam. And yes, ACCA have given you a nice little breakdown as to learning hours and education recognition, but I always like to say you've got to work smarter and not harder based on what works best for you. Hence why I set up the channel, I share all my insights that could mean that difference, that look, I know people have got work and other commitments, so hence this document taking you and walking you, talking it through, so that you could spend hours going through this, but don't worry, the video is going to be all to the point, because as you can see on here, It's telling you about the different subject areas 1, 2 and 3, and this relates to the level. So this is where we see, you go down to pages 13 to 18. Now, I'll show you on here now actually, because it will really help you out. And basically what it's saying to you is that if you were looking at the decision-making techniques on here, can you see the little 2s on there? It's just showing you the level of detail that you're going to have to go into. So if we come back up to the top on here, I know, look at all these notes, they're going to be good. So you're going to have to apply application and analysis. Whereas level 3 up here, I would say would be referring more to the actual advanced performance management. And I know what you're thinking already, going, James, I'm not liking performance management already. I don't think I'll be doing that one. But we digress. This is just, as you can see on here, gives you an indication of the level of depth and area when we go on to the detailed study guide at the bottom, how you're going to be assessed, and it really breaks it down very easily for you as well. So definitely worth something to just bear in mind on there, and just to sort of set your stall out to how much revision you're going to have to put into play. And this is why I've put down here for the management accounting exam, the F2, as we mentioned earlier before. So some lower level skills can continue to be assessed. In other words, the management accounting concepts like activity-based costing and break-even analysis are brought forward, a bit more complex in this module, that you need to be aware of. So maybe worth digging out those notes if you've not done management accounting in a long time. So this is the actual structure on here for the ACCA qualification, and you are here for performance management if you're thinking about going on to advanced performance management, whatever it may be. But that's just to give you an indication that there's management accounting, and it nicely leads on into the applied skills. Moving on here, so this is the guide to the examination structure, and as you can see on here, it breaks it down for all of the exams, but these are the critical things that you need to be aware of. And I've noted on here about the actual applied skills. The computer-based exam technique is so key, because as you can see on here, we've got a mixture of objective and longer type questions, with the duration of the exam, if you didn't know already, being 3 hours. You are given 10 minutes, as you can see on there, for the instructions at the start of the exam, and you won't be able to go through the actual question paper. Now, you may be doing the paper-based exam where there'll be different rules that these tips will still apply to, but just check on ACCA's website what relates to your particular region. But for me, paper-based or computer-based, it all comes down to past papers, going through question practice, and developing your exam technique that we talk about all the time on the channel. Now, as you can see down here, we've got to apply your knowledge to the business scenario. This is so fundamental to section C, because that is where you're going to actually have to write out your answer in the PM exam if you want to get that written down. And as you can see here, the methods allow ACCA to focus on testing students both technically and from an application basis. So reading between the lines on there, you have to apply back to an actual scenario in this case. If you fail to do that in section C, you will fail this exam. And just so you're aware, as we touched on earlier, you've got 3 hours in the exam, you've got 100 marks to achieve, so that is 1.8 minutes per mark. Just as a sort of ballpark so that you can get better at the time management. It gets noted in the external examiner's report in every sitting that students don't read the questions. For section C, they don't plan their answers effectively with the available time. They continue to encourage, I'll continue to encourage, but as you can see on here, time should be taken to ensure that all information and the exam requirements are properly read and understood. Now, to add on to this, from a recent report I read, lots of students still don't complete the whole 100 marks in the PM exam. So when you actually go and have a look at some of the other videos on my channel, there are real good tips on there for time management in this exam, planning your answers so that you're attempting the full 100 marks, because it's so easy to lose track of time and to sort of dilly-dally away on it. So moving swiftly on to the actual guide to the actual examination assessment, and you can see on here, ACCA reserves the rights to examine any learning outcome contained within the study guide. And this is so true for the PM exam. So if you want to get written down in your notes, section A and section B, the external examiner continually tells us that they can test absolutely anything. Whereas section C, they do have a few more specifics on there, but A and B particularly expect the unexpected, I would say. And as you can see on here, we've got when the new syllabus changes will come into effect. So if you're watching this in, say, May, for example, the last sitting before any small little changes that we talked about at the start will be in the actual June paper, whereas the new changes will come into effect from the 1st of September and in the September paper. So it's just to be aware of, but like we said at the start, there'll only be minor changes in there, hence why these documents are so valuable, along with the notes we're going to go through today. We've also put on here the study guide should therefore be read in conjunction with the examinable documents on there. I've done numerous videos on the channel as well, so feel free to check them out, especially the computer-based exam analysis on there. I've done a section A, a section B, and if you want an overview of a section C question, if you click the link in the description of this video, it will take you directly there. Fantastic resources on there, and you get access to my notes as well, very helpful. But coming on to now the actual relational diagrams for PM, so you can actually sort of visualize where it overlaps, how you're going to take this knowledge forward, and where the actual knowledge is used previously. So we've talked about management accounting before, but the underpinning knowledge that they're referring to, or should I say ACCA referring to, is actually about management accounting, and then using these and reviewing the previous learning, undertaking your studying. So in other words, dig out those old notes as I put down here. There are key topics which we're going to come on to later that you'll recognise from management accounting and are then applied in performance management. So don't overlook them, because if you don't understand them fully, you're going to really struggle. Now, this is really important as well, because we've got the approach to examining the syllabus on here. So again, we've got the 1.8 minutes per mark, a 3-hour exam, the 10 minutes to read the exam instructions on there. And this is where you're going to be tested both on a sort of calculation basis, computational or discursive. That is where you have to write your answer. And that is for actual section C, if you want to get that written down. Sections A and B are all selecting answers, and the computer will be marking it. As you can see on here, some of the questions will adopt a scenario case study approach. That is for sections B and C in your exam. Section A is all about facts and PM syllabus understanding. Candidates are also provided with a formula sheet, again available on the actual ACCA computer-based system, and the key formulas on there are regression analysis, learning curves, and demand curves. I'd highly recommend before the exam you doing a past paper question that involves calculating all three, because it really shows up a well instructed student who's done practice, that they know that if they see a demand curve question, straight to the formula sheet, know how to put it on a calculator, easy marks in the bag. It will really help you. Then you've got section A on there, it's multiple choice. If you want to get down that students continually throw away marks, the external examiner continually tells us this, they don't read the question, they don't understand all the potential answers, and they miss out on the sort of outliers on there that how can that answer be anywhere near right? It's all about distracting you. So it's picking up on the distractors, the answers that can't be right, and that's particularly in section A. So the more questions you do on that, the better you'll become, and you should do that first of all in the exam when you've got the most amount of energy and focus, because once you lose focus, some of them when you go through it you go, oh my word, difficult on there. We actually have on here based on actual common scenarios. So in section B, just to be crystal clear, because I've had questions from students on this, so I want to share it with you today, is that there are 3 cases in section B, but the 3 cases are all independent, so they don't overlap with one another. So one case is worth 10 marks, and you've got 5 questions in that one case, if you want to jot that down. And if you have a look on the channel for the actual section B review, have a look through that. That's super helpful, that video, and I'll just walk and talk you through it. Now, we come on to section C, and this is critical. Now, this is the toughest part of the PM exam, but the actual PM examining team here are actually highlighting to you which areas of the syllabus, which we'll be coming on to later, are tested in section C. And these are for 220 mark questions. Or in other words, if you don't get these particularly right, you've got a very low chance of passing the exam, where the 220 mark questions will come from the decision-making techniques, budgeting and control, and/or performance measurement and control areas of the syllabus. And these are syllabus areas C, D and E, as you can see on the side. So make sure you've got that written down. The section A and the questions in section B can cover any areas of the syllabus. It's that important, I've highlighted it in yellow. So in other words, you can't question spot, you've just got to get stuck in, go through as much of the core text as you can, and make sure you've got a reasonably up-to-date one. I've put links in the description of this video. Feel free to check them out on there. They'd be the ones I'd be using, especially the exam kits as well. Really, really helpful. The more questions you do, the better. Now, coming on to the introduction to the syllabus, and really key thing on here, I've just noted up at the top, good PM key terms to apply that are underlined. So this will be particularly helpful for you in section C. So pause the video if you want, get them all written down. You can apply these to section C questions, and this is what the actual external examiner is going to be wanting. So at the start, as you can see on here, we've got the introduction to the syllabus, everything from quantitative, so numbers based, qualitative information, so more discursive and wordy. Then we've got classic PM words on here, actually planning, decision making, performance evaluation and control. I constantly see questions coming up where you have to talk about a situation and explain why or what has happened from it. So really good uses on there. Now, from your document that you have, just going to reference down that each of these paragraphs relate to the areas of the syllabus. So we've got A, B, C, D, E, and we'll go down to F on there as well. But I'll let you read this through in your own time. I've underlined all the key terms and phrases on here that I make sure you get written down. Use it to your advantage. This is what the examiner is going to be looking for, that everything underlined here you could apply in section C of your exam. Now, coming down to my other notes on the side here, as you can see, check that you're happy with your assumed knowledge areas. So this is just making you aware, because they've touched on it again, the preparation of this exam has assumed knowledge of management accounting. So read between the lines again. Lots of students fail this exam because they don't retain enough knowledge from management accounting, they don't apply it effectively in PM, and hence why they fail it. So if you need a bit more practice on it, check out the other videos on the channel, they'll definitely help you. Then for part E on here and section F, we've got actually to say, well, calculate and discuss. These are the ways in which you are classically tested on this exam, and that's why I put on the side, explain why. If you don't explain why in section C, you will fail this exam. And hence saying, are we in a better or worse situation? How could we improve? And justifying your answer accordingly. The next key thing on here we've got down that I've seen in quite a few different past paper questions where students miss out on easy marks is not identifying, especially in section C, what sort of sector are we actually being asked to actually discuss. And you can have on here public sector, private sector, and also the other one to get down in your notes is the not-for-profit as well, is another area in the syllabus that I've seen tested in section C. So when you're reading through the scenario, just ask yourself, what's the type of company, what is going on, public, private sector or not-for-profit? And then you can actually sort of align your answer to be more specific to it on there. It'd be very, very helpful. Section F is all about information, and then at the bottom on here, this is where you got real added value to say, well, from that information, we're going to actually have to prepare and present. So this is using the Excel format box in section C and utilising the actual practice platform. But saying to yourself, that information that you're given in the scenario in section C, ask yourself, and feel free to write these down, it'd be very helpful. Is it credible? Can I rely upon it? Can I actually understand it effectively? Can we quantify it? How would I communicate that to internal and external stakeholders? And is it produced by someone who is objective, or is there some sort of bias in here? And again, you can actually link that to the ethical standards, again, that will get you marks in this exam, and saying, well, is the actual accounting profession being brought into disregard from what is going on in this scenario? So try these out in your revision, as I said, with the past papers. They're all available on ACCA's website, and you can also check out the videos on the channel where I run through them. So carrying on with the actual study guide now, these are the main capabilities. So when we touched on earlier about categories A to F, This is just breaking it down for you on here, but you've actually got the little diagram, especially if you're completely new to the performance management exam. This nicely actually demonstrates in the diagram below how it all sort of flows and links together, how they overlap, and saying, well, what are the important areas that I need to be aware of? C, D, and E are usually the big ones on there. Apologies for not highlighting B. Poor show, James, but we digress. It's okay. Sorry, guys. It's all right. But we move on. We move on because, as you can see here, my highlighter was working for this because this is a really key area on here. And I would also recommend, if you've got access to a printer, to print out page 12 because it's a really good checklist so that you go through and actually say to yourself, have I covered all the syllabus? And this is where, just to make sure you completely understand where I'm coming from on this, section A up here, Information Technologies and Systems. If you come back up to the top on here, section A, Information Technologies and Systems, and then section A up there, Information Systems and Technology. So that we're completely on the same page here. And saying about same page, it's just one page. So in other words, you've got all the different areas, 6 of them in total, and it tells you that in other words, you should be asking yourself here, what do I need to know for cost and management accounting techniques? Well, I need to know how to do an activity-based costing and target costing and lifestyle costing on there. Because this will be what I'd have pinned up on the wall, checking them off one by one, and then as a final revision technique on here, so look at this on here, we've got section A, Information Technologies and Systems, then for point 1 you've got managing information. Well, you should be saying to yourself, well, okay, for managing information, what do I actually need to know about that? And if you go down to this fantastic resource down here in the detail study guide now, it tells you on here, so same heading, managing information, parts A to E. This is where we touched on it earlier with the level of detail, but you could go through each one of them one by one and say, could I discuss the costs and benefits of an information system? Yes, okay, big tick, off we go. And if you go through it one by one, you'll find out the areas maybe you're a bit weak on. You can home in on that, refer back to your study text, and do some more past paper questions on it. Just to be crystal clear, whilst we've got the document open, you'll see my lines on here, because it's a bit dodgy when you're going from there to there. So what it means here is that section A here is 1, managing information, 2, sources, information, and then instead of going to the next page, it goes up to the top. So that is the cutoff. And then it starts on to B. So B then goes down to here. So just to be clear on it, when I read it through, I was there going, oh my word, you could get confused on that. But look at this on here. Fantastic resource. Has all the different, say, pricing strategies that you could be asked on, mixes, variants. You've actually got on here how we measure, keyword again for control, analysing, technology, everything on there. So another great resource that I would be definitely looking through if I was in your position. We touched on it earlier as well with the actual summary of changes. Now, to be honest on here, there's not really much. As you can see, it's sort of got reworded, a different heading for the actual syllabus on here. So nothing particularly too much that's going to sort of throw you off your chair. But the other things that I've got written on here are about reading the technical articles available on ACCA's website, that if you didn't quite understand a particular area from the syllabus above, loads of free resources on there that could definitely help you out. And some final points and tips just to get down in your final notes at the bottom, because this is heed the warning, should I say, as to say, well, from PM students that contact me around the world to say that they've unfortunately failed, whether they've got, 20 odd, 30 odd, or they've got 49. These are the constant things that they always say to me, that the exam was very time pressured. I agree. I didn't understand some of the areas because I'd never really heard of it. I agree. You can't question spot. You can't just go in only having some knowledge. The more question practice you have, the better. Again, all the resources, as we talked about earlier, if you go down to the description of this video, check out the links down there. They will definitely help you out. You've just got to put in the work and listen to the videos on there. And then final point, just check out my other videos. I mean, I've been through them. I can see myself where the mistakes are made, and I just walk and talk you through all of my insights on there, like I have done today, which takes us down to the bottom of the actual document. So let's head back onto the actual main screen now for a final overview. 3, 2, 1, and go. Well, Saeed, and of course everyone else who's watching, who's got the PM exam, I hope you found that video helpful. Those will be my key insights and resources that I'd be implementing if I had to sit the exam tomorrow, next week, whatever it may be. If you have found the video helpful, be sure to give it a massive like and thumbs up below. I really appreciate all the support for the channel, and be sure to share the video with any ACCA study buddies or friends or work colleagues that you know this is definitely going to help. As I said at the start of the video, make sure you subscribe below so you get access to all my free materials and all my uploads, because there could be that little difference in getting you that 50 plus from my experience and insights. Well, the final thing I can say is best of luck with your upcoming exam. If you follow these tips through, along with all the other free resources on the channel, they could be the difference in actually helping you pass. And what I've done as a final treat, I'll left you a couple of videos at the end here. Make sure you click one of them. Again, could be those little 1 or 2 marks from my insights to get you over the line and to pass your PM exam. Well, on that bombshell, I'll see you next time. Cheers.